Alrighty, getting started here. Had a little bit of a hiccup for the start of this match, but we'll go through real fast. Beam BB for Haymaker. Along with that, looks like a pair of capping corvettes. That is indeed what those are. Gonna guess a missile CL here. All size 3s. Size 3 hybrids at that. And a capping corv. With that, a 250 beam. No beam on this one. Interesting. Only one beam. And to go with that, rounding out the ANS team is a beam missile hybrid. These armed with torpedoes? They are. On the other side, we've got, gonna guess this is 450 line ships. Interesting, there's only 2 of them. I'm gonna assume that's, yep, because we have missiles and containers. A little bit of, I see some mines there, some utility. To go with that is plasma. Are these rockets or T-30s? Looks like plasma rockets. Interesting choice. I want to see how well they do. A little bit of E-War on there and a shuttle armed with a couple of rockets. And to go with that is a 250, double 250, and a tug. That's interesting. I'm going to guess these also have missiles on them. Yeah, they do. Let's see. Size 2s on those. The other ones have some more size 2s. And then rounding that out nicely is a point defense Acello with 450s and a tug. This might actually be the starter fleet, I think, is what's happening here. As far as deployment, looks like... Oh. I didn't realize this is a capture the flag game. And someone quit. Looks like maybe 2 people have. It's somehow 3-on-3 now. It's a bit of a bummer. But I guess that's okay. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if this game is going to be around for much longer. So I guess I'll go ahead and get set up. That's fine. We were just getting started.
I'm still growing with being okay with.
Trying to see. I always... Alright, there we go. Let's hit up the Discord. Let people know. No streams. Alright, I guess the teams have opted to stay in the game now. No one else is leaving. This is actually being hosted by Toasty Medic here. He's a spectator as well. So if he doesn't leave, the game will continue on until all the players eventually drop. I see 4 fleets worth of ships, which means somebody got handed the extra ones. So we do have a game here. Just someone has, you know, 2 fleets worth of ships instead of just the 1. I don't know if it's updated the names, so I can tell who has what. It looks like it has, so let's see if we can figure this out. So, my hands are bones, Haymaker. So I'm trying to find the DDs. So it looks like my hands are bones got handed the DDs on the ANS side. And he is moving them, so it looks like he's okay with that situation. And on the other side, we have... I sawed your boat in half, so that's the double lines. Looks like those got handed to Endor. So that's probably a good situation. He already has lines, so he'll know what to do with them. This is going to be weird. I normally don't cast Capture the Flag games. I think it's a little bit of a weird game mode, but it is something different. Meanwhile, we've got S1s, offensive S1s coming out of this Corvette, and for some reason the rockets aren't being fired. It might be too late at this point. There's cannon fire. Yep, there goes the CIC, and that's a dead shuttle. So score 1 for this Corvette over here. Looks like this one might be looking to do something similar. So it has the single barrel 120 plus a couple of offensive S1s. It's enough to deal with a shuttle. Won't be enough to deal with anything more than that. Kind of an interesting play. So if you've never seen Capture the Flag before, you have to somehow get one of your ships into this capture zone. So Boxer for Team 2 and Atlas for Team 1. And once you're there, you'll pick up a flag, and you have to run that all the way back into your capture zone in order to score. And we can see at the top, this symbol means that the flags are at the bases. If they get picked up, they'll change to this moving one. And I think a number pops up when they score a flag. My hands are bones, with some interesting insight. That is sort of true. Capture the Flag is probably the least played of the other modes. I'd say Tug of War is the most played game mode besides capture or control, and probably station capture is followed by that. Definitely Capture the Flag is not very popular. That might have been one of the reasons why those two players went ahead and left the game. It is sort of a slow and methodical situation. You don't want to push all the way to the other side of the map and leave your own base undefended. Something fast, like a Corvette, can zip in, pick up the flag, and run it all the way back to your base. There's no required path or anything. You don't have a certain amount of time that you have to make it back to the base in. So once you drop radar coverage, you can go back any way you want. I'm sure if more people spent more time on Capture the Flag, we'd probably get an interesting meta, but outside of that, kind of the heavy ships camp their flags, the light ships will scoot on over to the other side, see if they can get in there without being blown up. Looks like the Corvette on the right side has decided now is not the time. It's backed off a little bit. It's going to chill out by this rock here. So not a lot happening right now. I'll go ahead and take this opportunity, maybe do a little bit deep dive onto these fleets. I am a fan of these line ships. I wish there was a scout included with this, though. Especially considering you've got those 450s. There's a huge benefit to be had from taking an LRT. I mean, EWR, just that huge long-range big cone radar, it's always great on the OSP. But especially for a fleet like this, if you get hit by E-War, or, you know, the ANS will be firing at you with pinpoint accuracy from 9 kilometers. So if you don't have any long-range radar, the long-range targeting Bloodhound, to fire back, it can be a real disadvantage. And, you know, it's kind of over-relying on your teammates to find you targets in the first place. Something like this, I haven't seen it too much because I just assume that attempting to hide these massive bulk freighters behind these jammers isn't going to work out. I know certainly, I believe the line ship has a bigger radar cross-section than the Axfords do, and that's already kind of a tough order. Granted, the OSP jammers are stronger, but they don't last as long. I don't know. I will definitely keep an eye on the radar locks if these get into range and see how effectively these two bellbirds, if they do a good job at hiding these line ships. I'm going to guess not. However, these two Axfords, looks like an LRT does have them. Whose LRT is this? Ah, this is Synchrotech. It came as part of the starter fleet. And if these two come around the corner, these two Axfords run into these 4 line ships, it's not going to be a very good time. Assuming this player correctly fires 250 AP, that caliber will be able to penetrate and deal damage to the Axford. And then on top of that, you've got these 450 line ships, 2 of them. They're just going to dump their entire magazine at what's looking like it will be a pretty close range. Yeah, so Toasty Medic points out one of the ships has a microreactor. I believe he's talking about ANS. The thing about that is if you put it in a slot large enough for a big reactor, you don't really get a benefit to it. Microreactors cost the same as the baseline reactor. They're both 10 points. They have the same chance to blow up the ship if you stick it in a big slot like that. Of course, if you put a microreactor in the 3x3x3 slot, the smallest that can handle it, there's less chance of it getting hit by some type of weapon. But fun fact, if you put a module in a oversized compartment, it will fill to take up the space. It doesn't, you can't put a little itty bitty thing inside of a giant engine compartment and have it not get hit. So just waiting to see what these Axfords decide to do. I can tell that these DDs and this beam battleship want to play defense for the moment. The corvettes aren't moving. Oh, this one is testing the perimeter slightly. And it looks like these Axfords have been spotted. Yep, there goes one. The LRT is on target. And I assume these line ships are moving in. Let's see if they start rotating. And they are. So they are all locking up these Axfords and moving forward. Here comes some plasma from the monitors down there. And these Axfords are about to be in a very tough situation. They're still pushing forward, though. They see some of the line ships. They see the Ocello. Some of the stuff is getting spotted right now. Okay, here's what I wanted to see, how these bellbirds held up. So here's this jamming tug right here, and it looks like it is successfully covering the line ships. Oh boy, here comes the fire now. Let's see. We get to watch as this 250, it is 250 AP. Oh, but the beam comes in on the tug. It doesn't matter, they're too close now. Everything's being spotted by everything. Here come the S2s. Oh goodness, the bottom turret's already out. The 450s have just barely started firing. Some rockets go, some missiles I should say, go into the rock, but these are so close. The PD isn't having a great amount of time to do its job. This is just absolute knife fight range. That Axford's already lost a bottom turret. It's taken a huge amount of damage. Let's see what's happening to the other one. Not so much just yet. Meanwhile, the return fire, there's so much just girth to chew through on a line ship at this range. More 250s coming out. There goes its central reactor. It's losing other reactors. More missiles coming in. These are going to land home. There they go, slamming into the front Axford. That's taking out surely most of its PD on that side. And the gunfight continues, but it's not looking good for these Axfords. As predicted, they're eating the 250 AP. They're eating the 450s. They're eating missiles on top of it. One of them is already dead. Yowza. And the other one is not far behind. It's not even firing back anymore. No PD is even firing anymore. And here come more missiles to seal the deal. Completely incapacitated. The 450s will have no problem. One of the key reasons to bring a 450 on OSP right now is to deal with ships like this. So it's taken a huge amount of size 2 HEI missile hits, but it's still mostly intact. You know, it has restores left. It can come back from something like this, but not with those 450s firing. They have enough damage concentrated in those huge shells to pierce through that damage reduction, that 40% damage reduction, and actually kill, take all the way to gray these modules. There they go. And the ship is most likely dead. As soon as this reinforced locker goes out, it will be officially dead. And there it is, it's dead. So rip those guys. Yeah, hey, welcome to the stream, Arctic Fox. It was absolutely brutal. Sort of a something we could tell was in the works as soon as they closed that range. The unfortunate thing about taking a fleet like this with 2 Axfords, you have tons of firepower available at your fingertips. They are generally regarded as tough. Obviously, when they run into something like this, they're not tough, but the key factor there was they moved in range of the OSP and they didn't know they were there. I'm sure if that player had known that 2 fleets were there, they never would have moved up like that. But because that information wasn't available, I guess because unfortunately these corvettes, let's see if they have front lines. It wasn't enough range to detect them before going into that position, and because of that, oh, let's see if the Beam BB is going to be able to do anything now. The 250 AP is going to have a real rough time in this matchup. It is capable of doing damage, but nowhere near as effective as it is against the Axford. The Axford, I believe 250 AP is 60 centimeters of penetration. So versus the 40 of the Axford, you know, that's no problem cutting through. Oof. Let's see if a line ship got caught in that. Nope, didn't even scratch the paint. But the battleship is 53, I believe. And then there is armor angling in this game, of course. So if you hit at something less than 90 degrees perpendicular, that 53 centimeters of armor becomes a lot more than that. So very difficult for that 250 AP to actually penetrate and deal damage. Of course, if it doesn't penetrate, it will do a little bit of chip damage to the armor. You can eventually shell it enough so that just cannon rounds will break the armor. Of course, that is definitely something that can happen with these 250 ships. I mean, just look at them. Firing so many rounds. Looks like they've spotted the destroyers. They're wisely going to move over to them. Oh my god, a destroyer's already dead. I can't exactly tell the beam range. I assume, though, they should definitely be within range. I mean, you could almost read the numbers off those enemy line ships here. It's just a matter of getting these beams on target. And a third fleet, these monitors, join in the fray. So at this point, oh, those missiles fly by the DDs and instead decide to end the life of that Corvette. Here comes a beam. It's unfortunately missing at this point, not dealing very much damage at all to that. Looks like I missed a line ship dying over here. I'm not sure what happened to that. But the bulk of the action's over here. All of these missiles from the ANS side are doomed to failure. Meanwhile, these S2s, looks like they're getting juked by the active decoy. Active decoy points secured that time. There are still more missiles, though. AMM's adding to the fray. Here comes that battleship. That's what I wanted to check when it was going to join in. Now, they do have a bit of a problem here. They've slaughtered all the DDs, but this one battleship, it will have to contend with these rockets coming out of these monitors. There they are. We'll have to see how these do. Oh, the point defense, it's too close. It wasn't firing. Okay, now it is. Let's see how it does. Plenty of rockets do connect, but it looks like it's not enough. The rockets do reduced armor damage now. You really have to land a ton of them on target, but they are starting to add up, dealing a little bit of damage. That might be enough if these rockets are able, and they do, they've taken out the stone walls. That's huge for them. That's going to allow these follow-ups to really get in. Now all the armor is shredded and they're dealing critical damage. There goes the midsection. Looks like some reactors went also. That's shut down the beams. Here comes plasma. Here comes even more rockets. The monitor rocket is kind of like a super heavy version of the rocket shuttle. It's much slower, but it carries double the amount of rockets. You get to add in the plasma to help you get through the tougher armor and let those rockets hit home. And you get 40 centimeters of armor and a really tough ship to put them on. Very, very dangerous up close like that. We can see how they just went in and really worked over that battleship. I want to see how these 450 line ships are doing. Those are the 250s. They're a little shot up, but not too bad. Meanwhile, these 450 line ships, untouched. And that looks like it's just going to be a victory by default at that point. Kind of confused. I did not see what happened to this. That looks like missile impacts. Possibly some HEKPs. Is one of these shuttles, or not shuttles, is one of these Corvettes armed with HEKPs? Oh, you know what? It came from the CL. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, that's very unfortunate, though. For whatever reason, every last size 3 hybrid has been fired out of this CL. Oh, and it doesn't matter as that player surrenders. The writing is on the wall at this point. These line ships, they do take forever to turn and maneuver. It's quite frustrating to play them. This player has done a great job, though. Edouard has opted to just take both fleets that he's been given control over and run them almost in a formation. Actually, that might be a formation that he created there. There come the GGs. Good game. Yes, an absolute steamroll. Really unfortunate there. That definitely came down to a lack of information. If those line ships had been spotted out, that missile CL could have fired missiles into that instead of... I assume it had to use that many because the point defense silo was there and covered the line ship to some extent. I didn't really see exactly what happened. I'm just assuming. Yep, well done to them. Let's go ahead and get another match. So thoughts about that game, definitely. You know, even if you play ANS and you have spyglasses and everything, you still have to use them. They go great on a frigate, kind of stick it out on an edge. You can maybe put a Pinard on it. That's a really good use. Or there is a way to fit it onto a Corvette. It's kind of a tight fit. You have to use plant control centers and other things. But having some kind of scout is super valuable. So you don't just go and face check things.